Hi, friends. In recognition of National Suicide Awareness Month, I have decided to come live today to ignite the conversation around suicide awareness and suicide prevention. Unfortunately, if you don't know this about me, I have been touched by suicide twice in my life. I lost my husband Ross in 2014 and then lost my 25-year-old son Cole in 2017. Both quite a shock. And because I am a public speaker and author, now a podcast host, I've been very, very public, as well as with my daughter Laurel. Sometimes we speak together, talking about our story. And because I am talking about the story, you can imagine that I get regular messages from people asking me a lot of questions about suicide, asking me, did I see the signs? Asking me, how are we doing? How did we get through it? And most especially, I get questions from people that, or the reach outs really, asking me for advice on what I would do if they had somebody in their family really struggling. I get messages almost daily from a lot of parents, unfortunately, asking about what are the signs and, what should I look for? How should I help? They really are worried about their young adults, and they should be. I came across a website and I thought I would share some of the statistics with you about what's happening with our youth around suicide right now. It's the second leading cause of death, ages 10 to 24. 57% suicide rate increase in 10 to 24-year-olds in the last 10 years. Over 3,700 daily attempts for suicide in young people grades 9 through 12. And 132 people die of suicide in this country every single day. And the reason I'm focusing in on the youth statistics, you guys, is because I'm very, very passionate right now about helping young adults. They are really, really struggling. And I've been talking about this for many, many years, and you're going to see some more information come here really soon on a community that I'm going to launch specifically for young adults to help them get through this life we're in right now. So, and I'm sorry if I'm looking down every once in a while, you guys, during this live, but I wrote a lot of notes on specific things that I wanted to share with you. And so I thought what I would do is address some of the things I told you that I just get asked. What do I believe is leading causes to suicide? What are the signs to look for? And most especially, what can you do? So I'm going to start with talking to you about what do I believe causes suicide. The obvious things are there. We have so many people that I think are physically mentally struggling for a lot of reasons. And I think that they go unnoticed because so many of us have learned how to hide that really well. I think we also have a lot of people that are walking around dealing with a lot of unhealed trauma and abuse in their life. Again, going unnoticed because it's very hard to talk about things like that. And it's very hard to work on healing those traumas, which I've been doing physically myself. I know that there are a lot of people that have gotten themselves into situations, maybe like financially, where it's a dire situation and they are feeling like there's absolutely no way out. And I also know, unfortunately, especially in men, that they do not want to ask for help. There's too much pride around asking for help, or there's too much concern that if they are transparent about what they're going through mentally, that they're going to risk losing their jobs, losing their relationships, just really having people treat them differently. I think that there is also a feeling around being invisible in a world right now where we are more socially aware of each other and more able to get our faces in front of a lot of people really fast. Never before have we had the layer of loneliness, especially again in young adults. So I think there are a lot of people, even though they may be engaging publicly, are feeling very unseen. And the last thing I want to share with you is something that was just shared with me in a podcast interview I just completed. And I know this to be true because I do believe that both my husband and my son felt this way. But this gentleman said this in a way that I thought was really interesting. He said at the moment that he was contemplating taking his life, he thought that it was the highest act of love that he could give to his mother and to his sister, because he had been homeless for a really long time and in and out of jail. And he knew that they were very worried about him, very concerned, very sad, probably praying for him night and day. And he truly felt like the best thing that he could do was to end his life for them. And I just really want you guys to hear all of this, because it's just my list, and I'm sure you have a list that, or some things that you could add as to what you feel are some factors into suicide. But I think the biggest ones of all are the feeling invisible and feeling like it would be the best thing for everybody if they left. The other question I get a lot is, what are the signs? My daughter and I get this all the time, and our answer is the same. We wish so much we had a checklist that we could give you. You could just literally look at the list. If you're worried about somebody, and go down the list and check yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Unfortunately, my friends, that is not the case. Obviously, the signs we all look for is, are they depressed? Are they sad? Are they feeling anxious? Are they disengaging, disassociating with their friends? Is there a lack of motivation to do anything in their life? I mean, obviously, these are clear, but I want to tell you that the hard part about not being able to have a list is that so many people who are dealing with these things are not showing that on the outside. They are still very much involved. They could be super successful people. Um, Oddly enough, the month after, literally almost a month to the day after my husband passed, is when Robin Williams took his life. Same thing, right? Very funny, very engaging, very successful. And we kind of overlook that, I think, as a society. We think that it's very obvious what we should be seeing. But I have to tell you that more times than not, most people who are walking around with suicidal thoughts, you would never know it. So I think what we need to do, and this is the thing I want to leave you with, is we need to start doing several things in this world. One is we need to start asking people, how are you doing? And I don't mean just the people that you see struggling. I think we need to look at people every single day and ask, how are you really doing, and check in. And I have a challenge I want to give you here in a minute about that. So we need to ask. The second thing is, the very first thing I tell people if they call me or reach out to me and tell me they have somebody struggling. Obviously, I am not certified in any of this. I'm not a doctor. I do not have any degrees or certifications in anything other than just life experience that I've been through. So the first thing I tell them is to get some help as soon as possible. Get them to somebody who can talk to them and who is trained in this. Don't be afraid to ask if you see somebody struggling, if they're thinking about suicide. I know this to be a myth, and unfortunately, I believe this myth, that people think that if they see someone struggling, that they should not ask, are you thinking about taking your life? Because then you think you're planting the seed. Nothing could be further than the truth. I wish I would have asked. So ask if you are thinking you need to ask. Get the help. Don't assume that just because they're looking like their life is all great on the outside, that they aren't struggling on the inside. I think the biggest thing I've learned from interviewing all the people that I have on the podcast, Moving Through and Beyond, super successful people, the reason I bring them on is because they all have pretty tragic stories that they're willing to share. And what I've learned from interviewing all of them is that I never assume by looking at somebody that they have it all figured out and that their life is great and that they've never struggled through anything. Everybody's got a story. So the challenge that I want to leave with you all today is, I want you to, this is kind of funny. I don't watch football. I'm not engaged in football, but there's a thing in football called two-a-days, where they practice twice a day. And so I want to give you the challenge to put it into your daily routine now, to check in with 2 people a day. You can do this one of 2 ways. If somebody pops into your mind just randomly, this is not random. There's a reason they popped in your mind. Even if you know that they are doing great, there is a reason they popped into your mind. And don't be afraid to ask them, how are you really doing? Not just how are things going? How's your job? How's the kids? Ask them, how are you really doing? What can I help you with? For some reason, you popped into my mind and I wanted to reach out. And I want you to specifically reach out to the people that you feel like they are maybe pulling back in some way. Maybe you've seen them stop showing up, stop engaging as much as they used to. There's a reason why they're isolating, and they're probably begging for somebody to see them. So I'm going to challenge you to the 2-a-days, y'all. Find 2 people a day that you can reach out to, let them know you're thinking about them, and let them know you want to know how you can help. So I have a special request today. So the Moving Through and Beyond podcast is doing really, really well. Super excited to announce that we're going to be reaching our 1-year anniversary here on November 11th. And I am wanting to really spread the word and the mission of hope through the podcast. And I'm asking you to subscribe to the podcast today. Subscribe on the YouTube channel that we will post here in this live and share it out. I really appreciate you all. And I just want to challenge you to reach out to 2 people a day and to keep looking up.